Rick Grenell is joining us now, former acting director of national intelligence and our senior advisor for foreign policy and national security. Rick, we talked about this blame Putin, which is how the White House went out with their messaging on inflation. But it's also starting to bubble up, Rick, in politics. CNN yesterday reporting, and the headline is, this is one, we've been dealing with for, it seems like 8 years, maybe 6 years. The U.S. assesses that Putin may increase efforts to interfere with the U.S. midterm elections, Rick. They're going to blame Putin for Democrat losses too?
Yeah, here we go. I mean, this is really, honestly, if you look at the details, and most Americans who are not familiar with the intelligence lingo are going to miss this. But when you look at the details of what they're saying, first of all, it's anonymous sources yet again. So anonymous sources are telling, some outlets, media outlets in Washington, D.C., who are running with this information, pretending like it is real or verified. It's unverified intelligence. It's anonymous. It should not be given the type of weight that reporters are giving it. I think that the fact is reporters are jumpy. They love this messaging. This started with the Daily Beast. They love this mantra that you should look at Russia and Russian disinformation. Let me just say two things. First of all, it's Chinese. It's the Beijing line. It's the Chinese hope that Americans and journalists in America constantly say, look at Russia. The Chinese do not want anyone scrutinizing their relations with the Biden family. So they are going to be very pleased to see the Daily Beast and others say that this is Russian disinformation. Look over at Russia. The Chinese love that. The second thing is we have to remember that the Russian disinformation is just the new term for Russian propaganda. We all know what Russian propaganda is. When you use the word propaganda, everybody knows immediately that this is phony, fake information and typical of what Russia does. No one is surprised that the Russian government pushes propaganda. But instead we call it disinformation because we want to make it different. But I will say this and finish with this. Almost exclusively, the Russian disinformation, the Russian propaganda, was about our election policy issues, our discussions around the election, not the itself. The Russians did not break into our election system and change votes. The risk of that is extremely minimal because of our system. And yet the media pretend that the Russian attack on our election is somehow with vote counting. It is with the discussion and largely on social media about the election.
Yeah, I mean, Rick, I wonder, because you talked about China there, and you sent a tweet today in response to the news that the U.S. State Department ordered non-essential U.S. government employees to leave Shanghai. So he says that would be a consulate there. And you wrote, I've never seen the State Department evacuate from so many countries in 1 year. U.S. diplomacy is shattered under Blinken, and we shouldn't employ and use taxpayer dollars to fund anyone we call non-essential. Let's walk through that. First off, that the State Department, all these evacuations where we're leaving, and you talk a lot about how foreign service officers, the idea used to be they were, you're brave, you go into places that are tough, and you're there to try and prevent worse actions, but you are putting people are putting their life on the line when they join those agencies, and now it seems to be a different model is run.
Yeah, let me be very clear. I know a lot of foreign service officers who are very brave and courageous who want to be on the front line, but they are being pulled back. I have talked to individuals who are career officials who say, just when we're getting going and being able to solve a crisis or a conflict, we're getting pulled out, whether it's Afghanistan or Ukraine or any other places. Now, we all know that when there is a point of danger and there isn't proper protection for foreign service officers who don't carry guns, they need to be evacuated. But many foreign service officers, career people at the State Department, sign up to problem solve. They want to be on the front lines, and we're pulling them out too fast and getting rid of diplomacy too quickly.
I mean, is the issue in Shanghai, is it COVID? I mean, because again, we're not getting a lot. The news is all, Russia, Russia, Russia. So we kind of ignore. I know that they're dealing with COVID. It's very strict there, but would they pull out non-essential over that? I mean, what do you think the issue is there?
We have a compound in China, and we are able to control our foreign service officers and others who are there. So this should not be a COVID issue. I mean, when you look at the stats as well of when you get COVID, if you're healthy and you're vaccinated, the percentage of serious sickness, hospitalization, or death is extremely low. And so what we need to be able to do is not be afraid of putting people on the front lines who sign up to do their job when they want to do their job. Don't pull them early and pretend like it's a crisis that we can't control or handle. You can mitigate and protect, of course. Everybody knows that. But it seems like there's a panic within the State Department and a first inflection to evacuate our people just when they want to be doing their job on the front lines.
And I think it would be interesting for people because they hear this a lot, Rick, throughout all of these evacuations, non-essential being evacuated. So it's not everybody, but it's non-essential. Who does that usually mean at a large compound like you're talking about, where we've got a lot of foreign service folks, a lot of State Department folks?
Well, first of all, it's incredibly offensive to me as a taxpayer to hear that we're paying people who are called non-essential. I ran the embassy in Berlin and the 5 consulates, and over my 2 years, I saved $19 million simply by not hiring people that other ambassadors before me had hired. Positions had been filled because I wasn't convinced that they were essential. And so I really can't tell you who an ambassador would say, this person is so non-essential that I can do without them, despite the fact that I'm using taxpayer dollars to pay their salary. I find it offensive. I find it a waste. And every single ambassador should reject the non-essential workers. If it's not essential, why are we paying them? Why are you wasting taxpayer dollars to pay someone's salary who literally doesn't matter? That's what they're saying, non-essential. I want only essential workers, and then we pay them if you are able to do a job that we need you to do.
Final question for you, Rick. We only got about a minute here, but you're talking politics. You're really involved. You're going around the country. And talk about Arizona for a little bit. We look at those Senate races. We're getting more and more to that on the broadcast. And I know you're following that one closely and what's happening there.
Yeah, there's some new news out of Arizona with a poll that just came out showing that Jim Layman has really broken away. I think this is remarkable. He's got a double-digit lead over Mark Brnovich, over Blake Masters. He's up. Jim Layman's up on television. Others are not. Jim Layman's got a lot of money and now is way up. I think this race could be over in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, so there you go. I mean, we're going to start getting more and more up to. I appreciate it, Rick, because with Rick's foreign policy experience, but also his political experience right here in the United States, it's great to have as an asset the closer and closer we get to the primaries. We start seeing who the leading candidates are going to be.